Hi, I'm going to be talking about the fact that once again Centrelink wishes to breach its human rights and breach several laws. After careful consideration, I have reviewed your restrictions on accessing our services by taking into account your current circumstances. There are no current circumstances to take into account, so they are using old information and information that is quite stale, and there is no recent assessments done. All they are going on is old information, deflammatory information, information that is hearsay. They have not even invited me to Centrelink, and they have not invited me to be part of the process. They have just merely said, Centrelink has said merely, you have no human rights. The service leader of Zone West Victoria, Department of Human Services, basically doesn't even put his name on here, but basically, from my understanding is that the new minister for HonJan McLucas, Senator the Honourable HonJan McLucas, she's the new minister for Centrelink. Her office is in Queensland. Her electoral office is in Cairns, in Queensland. I talked to all the constituents in Queensland that if HonJan McLucas at one stage is going to agree with this, I would urge that all people in Cairns that know who the senator is, if she has any human rights in her, she will review this matter and she will bring account the injustices and also the human rights issues. Why would you say that someone should be banned from all Centrelink offices because they talk to the manager or they talk to the team leader? Now, I do know that also, why would you ban someone from Centrelink because of what I'm doing now? That would be my right. But according to Centrelink, I have no rights and I have no human rights. Now, the email that I'm sending off, and which will go to HonJan McLucas' office today, will be to whom may be concerned, I've attached this letter to this email and video to explain the situation. I have a disability and I'm being treated in a way that I have no rights or no avenue of complaint. I've been told today by Craig, which is a social worker of Werribee, he's a senior social worker, that I suggested that social worker to assess me in person, that Craig said that I have no rights to any appeal and the mercy of the people of Centrelink. I have no right of an appeal, and whatever the federal government says, though it is lies, defamation, arbitrarily deny the right to have a fair hearing and to be listened to. So basically, to ask for a process that is fair, I ask for the disability laws to be used to protect myself and not be denied my human rights. I ask for a full investigation into this matter and that I can have some human rights and dignity. I am asking for assessment where I am involved in this process. I'm asking for a fair hearing, not based on hearsay, lies and old information and becoming like stale bread. So there's old information that is so stale that they are using, which has no really basis in it in the first place. I'm asking for my human rights to be upheld and not denied my rights. I'd like this process and understand my disability and that I'm not discriminated against, indirect or direct, to use my disability against me. I'd like a fair hearing to be listened to. If they think this is acceptable, ban me from all Centrelink offices on the fact that I speak up, I have a voice, why I'm being told by Centrelink that they want me to stop talking to people and exercising my human rights because they're annoyed because of speaking up about my rights of human rights. How do you ban someone from Centrelink from doing nothing wrong? And you control them and deny them human rights. In 14 days' time, I have to consider a legal writ, in the federal courts of the human rights violations and other abuse of power and legislation being used to control someone's right to justice. Of course, I will seek legal advice and I'll ask why this ban is to be, why for this ban to be lifted as soon as possible so there no longer can be any arbitrary deprived of denied of my human rights. I sent a letter off before about this issue, and somewhat it's been swept under the carpet. They really think that Centrelink has the right to deny people their human rights. Based on the information, I've made a decision to continue to restrict how you can access our services. I have had no recent dealings with Centrelink. What I mean by recent is in the last month I've had no recent dealings. The last month that I've had is one phone call coming from a social worker from Werribee stating that he was going to the Northern Territory for 10 weeks and that thing. At the end of the day, this is the letter that I received from the Department of Human Services, and you can read that, and basically this is all they've been doing. And on the back you can see there are the general Yahoo stuff, consequences of not complying. So basically the federal government is saying that if I go to anywhere near any Centrelink that I'm going to be arrested. I could say that I've known a police officer within the Victorian Police that has been a police officer for 42 years. And as that police officer stated, I'm not a violent person. I would never hurt anyone, and I'd never do anything wrong, except I would use my mouth and I would pursue social justice. Now, if that's a good reason for banning someone from Centrelink, then I need to ask the question. And as I say to the Cairns of North Queensland, Cairns constituents, in your next federal election, which is coming up, consider whether you need to allow Jan McLucas a second chance. Because Jan McLucas is the member for Cairns, and what I am trying to understand is why would Jan McLucas be even considering Senator for Queensland, Minister for Human Services, Australian Labor Party. Her principal office is electoral offices, McDonald's Solicitors Building, corner of Shields and Grafton Street, Cairns. When you go voting in the federal election, consider, do you want a minister that may consider to encourage this behaviour, encourage this human rights breaches, encourage this social justice issue? Now, if that's the case, then what we need to do is look at the other issue. Now, the simple fact is, if you are in the Cairns region and Senator McLucas is your minister, if she's not willing to act on this or properly fully investigate, and she's going to go on hearsay, and she's not going to allow a fair hearing and not allow the other party to have their say, then this is denying a person justice and also encouraging human rights breaches. Now, we don't need human rights breaches in our country. We don't need human rights to be breached, and we don't certainly need human rights to be breached on Australian citizens, or we don't need it on any person at all. What I can understand is Senator Honourable Jan McLucas is a senator for the electoral office of Cairns, and I do ask the constituents of Cairns that if you want to know fully, now this is our fourth Centrelink minister from Tanya Plevisic, our fourth Centrelink minister. We have to ask ourselves, what is Julia Gillard doing? It causes unstable within ministerial portfolios, it causes instability, it causes confusion, and it certainly causes human rights breaches and social justice damage to Australian citizens. What I'm asking for is a full review. I rang up the senior social worker that I have to talk to, Craig from Werribee, and Craig from Werribee turned around and said to me, Cameron, you have no rights. You have no rights of an appeal, you have no say in this matter, and there is nothing I can do for you, and I can't help you. Though that I spoke to the social work people, the context of social work profession is committed to pursuit and maintain human well-being. Social work aims to maximise development of human potential and the fulfilment of human needs through equal commitment to working with Australians' first people, working with supporting people achieve the best possible levels of personal social well-being. Well, at the end of the day, the social work code of ethics is being breached in Centrelink, because the AASA, the Australian Association of Social Work, they have ethics of consultation resources, code of ethics, ethics of consultation services. Now, if basically Centrelink is allowed to get away with breaching human rights, breaching my human rights, and basically saying, well, Cameron, you have no rights. I'm sorry, you have no rights. This is what we're saying about you. You can't have any rights. We're going to make sure that the senator from Cairns, her name again is Senator Honourable HonJan McLucas, will buckle under our pressure, our corruption, and we will make her do what we want her to do, though she is the Minister for Centrelink. She will disagree with them. Now, I've already said that the constituents of Cairns, the voters of Cairns, need to consider that if Jan Lucas is going to continue on with this absolutely human rights breaches against an Australian citizen, and she's not going to consider to lift this ban, and she's going to allow McLucas, so it's Senator Honourable HonJan McLucas. Her electoral office is in Cairns, so that's Senator Honourable HonJan McLucas. She's the Minister for Human Services. If she's going to continue, and the Minister for Centrelink, if she's going to accept these human rights breaches, she's going to accept that Australian citizens can actually be silenced, can actually be controlled by Australian federal government, then I say to the voters of Cairns, do you want that senator as your minister in Cairns? Or should you be voting for the opposition? Or should you be voting for an independent? The question is, as I would say to the Senator Honourable HonJan McLucas, I hope that you will fully investigate this matter, that you won't be going on hearsay, that you will look at the full evidence in front of you, and you will also listen to getting an assessment from a social worker, for myself, assessing me in person, and looking at the facts, not looking at old information that goes back 2 years ago, but looking at the full holistic picture of what's happening right now. I'm denied to be part of society. I'm being forced. You might as well remove me from my pension. You might as well put me on the streets, or you might as well throw me in jail, because that's what the federal government is basically saying. You've done nothing wrong, but we deny you your human rights. We deny you everything. Now, I went through the federal ombudsman, and basically they said, we can't help you. I've gone to all the different tribunals for Centrelink. They said, we can't help you. So basically, I'm screwed. Excuse my French, and I do apologise for that, but basically I'm screwed. I can't screw the screw down any further, because Centrelink has basically said, Cameron, we will deny your human rights. We will not listen to you. Cameron, if you do videos like you're doing now, we will continue your ban. Cameron, if you keep exercising and fighting for your human rights, we will not listen to you. We'll just continue to ban you from all Centrelink offices. Now, Stan Neely is a service leader for Soane, West Victoria. Now, Stan Neely, he is encouraging this corrupt behaviour, this unethical behaviour. He is not willing to give me any human rights. Now, I do not drink, I do not smoke, and I do not take drugs. I am trying to be part of a community and part of society. But how do you do that if you're denied your human rights, and your human rights are taken off you and you are not listened to? I asked for a full investigation through Senator Honourable HonJan McLucas of the Cairns voters to consider that, is she really doing her job as a minister? I'm asking for a full investigation why I'm being denied my human rights, and my human rights are being denied. The question that I need to ask is, why is my human rights being denied? Why that I ring up Craig from the Werribee Centrelink, and he's a senior social worker, and he says, Cameron, I can't help you. You don't have any